So with the 762 being banned from ranked play, and I seriously told you guys, I had a feeling that it was going to be banned. And it's funny how a lot of people were, you know, shaming me for using it in the game, and people in the comments asking me why am I using it. Well, now it's banned. So now we got to figure out what is the new meta, what are going to be the fastest killing guns, and what are guns worth using. So that's what today's video is going to be about. So before we begin here, pretty much all my tactical lethal perk package, field upgrade, that's all personal preference. You can use whatever you want to. All right, so I'm going to start off with my TAC-56 class setup. So this I had dubbed the cracked TAC-56 class setup, mainly because when ranked play first came out, a lot of people were looking to the pro setups to use, but I went ahead and made my own class setup with stats behind it, because this setup gives us the perfect balance between faster aim down sight speed and some good recoil control. So for my muzzle, I'm using the X10 ported 90 here, and then for my underbarrel we got the FSS Sharkfin 90 and the high velocity rounds for ammunition. And for my rear grip, I'm using the demo clean shot grip, and for the stock we have the TVX Line Pro. So quick disclaimer guys, there is no tuning this time in ranked play. That was also removed and banned from ranked play. Now I do want to talk about the FSS Sharkfin 90 barrel real quickly here, mainly because a lot of people will ask, you know, what's the point of using this attachment? Why do pros use it? You know, is it even worth it? So the short answer is yes, because it has zero cons. When you're in ranked play, every single stat, every single gunfight will matter. It all comes down to who has maybe the faster ADS, better movement, or better recoil control. So the thing that this attachment offers is that it gives us some aiming idle stability. So basically what that is when you're aiming down sights and you're not firing your weapon, you do notice your iron sights swaying left and to the right. So basically that's what aiming idle stability does. It just helps stabilize the weapon in that sense. All right, so we're just gonna do a quick demonstration here of the TAC-56. So the TAC-56, it is a pretty fast TTK assault rifle, albeit it wasn't the most all-around assault rifle versus the 762, because you had a very consistent TTK of 200 milliseconds all the way out to about 45 meters or so. And also the headshot on the 762 was insane. It was about 100 millisecond time to kill. So when it comes to the TAC-56, why it is next in line for the most all-around weapon in the game, for ranked play that is because it is great at longer ranges. Now, you know, from the other choices that we have for assault rifles, besides the one I'm about to talk to in a little bit, you know, those stats, they're not going to be that good in game. It's not practical. The movement, ADS, everything has to be on point in ranked play in order to get an advantage on your opponent. All right, so next up, speaking of, this is what I was talking about now. This is now undoubtedly the fastest killing assault rifle in ranked play. And by fastest killing, I mean by stat wise TTK. This is the Kastov 545. And here are my attachments that I do recommend. We have the X10 Havoc 90 muzzle. Now the reason why I chose the X10 Havoc is mainly because it gives us a good balance between horizontal and recoil control. However, this attachment is actually horizontal recoil control dominant. So I wanted something with more horizontal recoil dominant attachment, mainly because I want to be able to control that side-to-side bounce that you get when you're firing your weapon. So it all came down to the FTAC Castle Comp and the X10 Havoc. And if you take a look at the stats, the X10 Havoc actually has just a little bit more bang for your buck as far as horizontal recoil control. You know, I know I'm just pinching numbers here, but remember, like I said, in ranked play, pretty much every stat counts. All right, so for the underbarrel, we're rocking again with the FSS Sharkfin 90, and then for my ammunition, I'm going with the 545 high velocity rounds, and then for the rear grip, I went with the True Tag grip, and for the stock, I went with the Kastov Rama. So, you know, when it comes to trying to select which attachments you want to use, just put yourself in the situation of ranked play, how stats matter. You know, every gunfight matters. It all comes down to who has the least amount of cons to their setup. So the reason why I went with this specific attachment is because we literally get no cons. I know the only con here is aiming stability, but that's a physical thing. You know, it's not really within the stat of the attachment itself, if that makes sense. So I'll put a screenshot here of what I mean. So as you can see here, we get actually no cons to the actual weapon's performance. So aiming stability is something that you're really not going to notice too much. It's maybe just like a visual thing. However, we do get some pretty nice aim walking speed and sprint speed pros here. All right, next up, I have my updated Vaznev 9K class setup. And the reason why I say updated is mainly because I changed my stock here. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. But first, for the muzzle, we have the 𝗫𝗠 Pendulum. Now, the 𝗫𝗠 Pendulum, I actually did a test back when Rank Play just came out. I wanted to see the difference between using the 𝗫𝗠 Pendulum and just using no muzzle at all. But the 𝗫𝗠 Pendulum actually does help you out in longer range gunfights. I know it's an SMG, you're not supposed to be using it at longer range, but there are going to be situations, especially when you think of something like Search and Destroy, when it's a 1v1 and the gunfight is very important and you need to win that gunfight at range and you have no choice but to interact, then this will help you out in those kind of situations. The recoil control is going to kick in at the later half of the magazine. Now for the underbarrel, we have the FSS 𝗧𝗪𝗏 90, and for the rear grip, we have the TrueTech grip, and for the stock, I'm using the 𝗪𝗑𝗡𝗏 R7 stock. Now, some of you guys may have noticed that we do have a new attachment here. Maybe about 2 weeks ago, they added this into the game. Well, this is the broadside FCT. So if you take a look at all those pros, it looks really nice and attractive and all, but if you actually compare the 𝗪𝗑𝗡𝗏 and the broadside side by side, you'll know that the 𝗪𝗑𝗡𝗏 actually just gives you better bang for your buck. And when you use the broadside FCT, you're pretty much sacrificing slower aim down sight speed, and also you reduce your tactical sprint to fire speed as well, with just a little bit better recoil control than the 𝗪𝗑𝗡𝗏 R7. Again, I'll leave a screenshot on the screen just so you guys can look at it. Pause the video if you need to, if you want to compare it. But that's why I went with the 𝗪𝗑𝗡𝗏 R7 stock, because it just gives us a best bang for our buck. Now, you could also go with the 𝗪𝗧𝗏 stock. This one offers the least amount of cons. Actually, the only con here is the aiming stability here. All right, so these next three class setups that I am going to go over with you guys, these are the 𝗲 MP5, aka the Lachmann sub, as well as the MX9. The main reason why I'm choosing to put these as pretty much like novelty guns is because the Vaznev is just simply the best. You know, as far as mobility, range, it's just so good. That's why pros use it. Now, as far as all three of these, they do have their own certain pros and cons here, and we'll get into that in a little bit. So for my 𝗲 class setup, this is what I do recommend: using the FSS 𝗧𝗪𝗏 90 underbarrel, the 𝗫𝗠 comp for the muzzle, and the 30 round for the magazine, as well as the ZLR combat grip and the Assault 60 stock. So the one thing that you have to know about the 𝗲 is that they actually did buff it. They buffed its ranges, so it makes it viable. However, it just doesn't quite have, on paper, a faster time to kill than the Lachmann, the MX9, as well as the Vaznev. So that's really the only issue that I do have with the 𝗲 46 if we're talking purely stats here and when every single gunfight matters. But, you know, if you do want to go ahead and use the 𝗲 46 for the sake of using it in ranked play and trying it out, trying something new, then this is the class setup that I do recommend. All right, so next up, we have our Lachmann sub. Now, the Lachmann sub, I like. You know, it could definitely be a second choice next to the Vaznev, mainly because its TTK is very competitive with the Vaznev. We're talking about a 4 millisecond competitiveness difference of the TTKs between the Vaznev and the Lachmann sub. So this is definitely a solid choice if you want to use something else besides the Vaznev. So for my Lachmann sub, we're keeping it simple here. We're using the FTAC Castle comp here for the muzzle, FSS 𝗧𝗪𝗏 90 for the underbarrel, and the Lachmann TCG10 rear grip. So you may notice I'm not really using too many attachments here. The main reason why is because if we add on more attachments, we're just gonna make this thing a lot slower. So, you know, if you're going against the likes of the typical Vaznev class setup, you're probably gonna lose that gunfight strictly because of the aim down sight speed is gonna be a little bit slower on your Lachmann. So you do have to be mindful of that. All right, and last but not least, we have the MX9. So as far as the MX9 goes, this is what I'm using. Only 3 attachments, and the main reason why is because, again, the more attachments we put on it, the worse it's just gonna make our stats, more than it already seems like it is, but it's really not that bad. Again, we're going to be going over actual numbers after this portion of the video. But yeah, the MX9 is definitely a solid choice. However, it may not be the most versatile SMG, mainly because it just feels so stiff. It's slow, but you know, it's got a pretty good TTK. If you're very accurate with your shot and you really practice using the MX9, this can be very rewarding, and you will be able to stand a chance against the Lachmann and the Vaznev 9K. So just to go over what I'm using here, I got the 𝗫𝗠 STB 556 stock, FTAC C11 riser, as well as the STIP 40 grip. All right, so we're on sim.gg. It's pretty much a website where they take data mined from the actual game itself and then put it on this website. You can do a lot of things on this website as far as taking a look at each and every single stat. And it's a pretty cool website in my opinion. Go ahead and check it out. By the way, it's not sponsored. I just really like using this website. I think it's a genuinely helpful tool. All right, so we have a quick overview of all the weapons that I just recommended to you guys. But first, I do want to just focus mainly on the assault rifles first. So we'll get rid of these and we'll take a look at the assault rifles. So this is the main reason why the 545 and the TAC-56 are the most reliable and best time to kill weapons for ranked play, as well as best bang for your buck type of thing. For the Kastov 545, you do get a 184 millisecond time to kill up to about this 24 meter range. Now, the thing with the TAC-56 is that it has just a slightly better range at 192 milliseconds, and then that's when the Kastov starts to weaken at 276, and then over here after about 28 meters it does become competitive with the 545 once again. So they're pretty much almost the same stats, but of course, you know, one is going to have better recoil control from distance versus the other, such as the TAC-56 having a better recoil control from distance, which is why a lot of pros like it, because of the multitude of gunfights that they do find themselves in. Now, as far as the Kastov 545, I do recommend you guys to use this exclusively on smaller maps. Don't use this on maps with bigger engagements. You know, you might actually lose gunfights at long range against the TAC-56. You got to remember, the time to kills are so close that it doesn't even matter what it is on paper. All it really matters is pretty much the accuracy of the player and the reaction time. So in ranked play, every little thing matters. So that's why it's important to keep these gunfights as close as you possibly can with the 545 to take advantage of that faster TTK. You're gonna melt the TAC-56 users each and every single time. Now let's go ahead and move on to headshots here. So headshots, we do have a slight advantage once again over the TAC-56 with the Kastov 545. So the time to kills remain the same here, except for the ranges do go out to about 42 meters to 54 meters with the Kastov 545, which is absolutely insane. But I don't think that this is practical regardless, but it's just nice to know that you do have a very consistent TTK, and the 545 definitely wins as far as time to kill. Now the same story actually applies when you're shooting to the lower torso here. It again is very competitive. And then to the limbs, you actually still have a bit of an advantage over the TAC-56 with the 545 at 276 milliseconds versus 384 after about 28 meters. So you do have a little bit more consistency as far as having a faster TTK with the Kastov 545 over the TAC-56, no matter where you shoot your opponent, which is going to be very good in different situations, especially for players who are not super accurate at, you know, targeting specific areas of the body. This is going to be very important information to know here. All right, now let's quickly talk about the submachine guns. So the fastest time to kill out of all the SMGs is the Lachmann sub at 150 milliseconds. Now, keep in mind, the Vaznev 9K is at 154 milliseconds. So they're, you know, pretty much the same TTK. However, with the Vaznev 9K, you do get a faster TTK up to this range of 10 meters versus the Lachmann sub. So, you know, you can pause the screen if you need to. I know there's a lot going on here, but I would say it is a very competitive category, especially for the MX9, the Lachmann sub, as well as the Vaznev 9K. You know, they all pretty much have competitive TTKs in this close range. So it's all really going to come down to which gun actually has the better attachments to enhance your performance as far as aim down sight speed, movement speed, etc. So I would definitely say the edge does go to the Vaznev 9K, and then the Lachmann sub, and then the MX9. Because as you saw, when we were putting the MX9 together, we pretty much had 0 attachments. Literally only 3 attachments on the MX9. Now here we have the Val 46, the standalone guy. You know, it's clearly obvious that it has a much slower TTK. But they actually did recently buff the range on it, which makes it viable, I guess. But as far as ranked play goes, I still wouldn't really choose this over the Lachmann sub or the Vaznev 9K. You know, I want the fastest killing guns in the game if I'm going to be using a submachine gun. All right, so that about wraps it up as far as the fastest killing guns available in ranked play. So yeah, if I were to break it down to pretty much my go-to weapon, I would definitely say the TAC-56 for longer range engagement type of maps and then the Kastov 5x5 for close quarters, maybe medium-sized maps. And then as far as SMGs goes, I would definitely flip between the Lachmann sub and the Vaznev 9K. Kind of just depends on the map, the type of game mode that we're playing. So yeah, guys, let me know down below in the comments what guns you are actually using that maybe needs more attention. I'd definitely love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below, or which ones do you actually like from this list. And make sure to leave a like, subscribe, turn on noties, and I'll see you guys in the next one.